I went around the world 1.5 times in 2023 in search of machines on wheels that I hadn't driven or ridden before. I started my journey from Sydney, Australia, and then headed on a non-stop flight to India. From there, it was a relatively short flight to Dubai before flying to Munich in Germany, from where I traveled to a few cities in Europe before taking another long-haul flight all the way to Los Angeles in the USA. Over there, I did an amazing road trip through some of the national parks in searing heat before going back to Los Angeles to catch another long-haul flight, but this time to the land of the rising sun, Japan. From the northern island of Hokkaido, I went to the mega city of Tokyo, and from there, I landed again in New Delhi before heading to the Caucasian countries of Georgia and Armenia. And after a road trip of around 3,000 kilometers over there, I flew to Thailand before finally ending the power tour in New Delhi. That was amazing. I call this the power tour because I had some really powerful machines that I piloted in short. It was fun, adrenaline filled, and just gave me an incredible sense of wonder and awe at what mankind is capable of, and what started with the aim of just locomotion has led to all these splendid feats of engineering on wheels. Now is a good time to tell you that I am one of the Canon camera brand ambassadors in India. But this time I decided to go just around the world with my iPhone and a couple of action cameras. That's it. World's fastest. This superlative is perhaps the most desired for any automobile enthusiast. What was better than to start with the most powerful motorcycle of this tour? A reflashed 2017 Kawasaki Ninja H2 that produces 240 odd horsepower at the rear wheel, so around 270 at the crank. And this bike also happens to be the world's fastest production street legal motorcycle. This was the same bike that I took around Australia in 2017, and it's a no-brainer to start the proceedings of something called the Power Tour. Time to move on to the other end of the spectrum. A made-in-India machine that was being sold in Australia, a 2023 Yamaha R15M. Not only looks stupendous, but it is one of the best bikes Yamaha had ever made. This was followed by an anomaly of sorts, an electric motorcycle, and not just any, the Harley-Davidson Livewire 1. It is perhaps the most refined electric motorcycle made till date, and it gave me a taste of what real torque feels like.
Put this on sports mode, let's see. Ho 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 ho.
I wouldn't be surprised that this is actually faster off standstill than the Ninja H2. This was going to be the most powerful electric motorcycle of the tour, but not the only one. Stay tuned. The silent Livewire gave way to the thunderous 2023 Diavel V4. Anyway, let me start the bike. The Diavel already has a cult following, and this was in its latest avatar with a beautiful V4 engine. This was perhaps the most powerful cruiser of my tour. These are the 4 machines that I rode in Australia before heading into a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, which is powered by 2 main engines producing approximately 100,000 horsepower. The only difference is that I wasn't piloting this one. So after a non-stop flight to New Delhi, I got onto a 2019 Fireblade 1000 RR. This was a bike that I got recently, and the 2005 Fireblade 1000 RR was my first liter class motorcycle that I got in 2006. The 2019 Fireblade 1000 RR is more like a 600cc motorcycle in terms of how light and maneuverable it felt. The Blade gave way to the world's fastest SUV, the 2023 Aston Martin DBX 707. That was one amazing sounding and driving car. Even with its 707 British horsepower, this wasn't the most powerful car that I drove in the Power Tour 2023. The DBX was followed by a relatively modest yet a lot of fun, a 2022 Mini Cooper S. This is the only sports car that I have owned myself so far. I landed in Munich and picked up a BMW M8 Competition. This would be the car that would take me to various other places in and around Germany, to other machines. Describing this car as an intercontinental ballistic missile would be an understatement. In Munich, I also picked up my second electric motorcycle of the tour, the Energica SASA 9 Plus. And it was good enough to make me believe that electric can be fun on two wheels as well. After heading to Cologne, I picked up the mighty Honda Goldwing. Its latest avatar is a bit smaller and packs a lot more tech than the previous generations, but it was every bit unmistakably a Goldwing. Big, majestic and rock solid. From Cologne, I drove to the headquarters of one of the best trike companies in the world, Rivaco. I took a Rivaco Pure 3 Sport. It was insane fun, especially in the corners, and looked out of the world. But this wasn't the most outlandish trike that I'd piloted on the Power Tour. Then it was time for another feat of Honda engineering, our 2022 Fireblade RRR SP, the latest and the best test version of the Blade so far, and most powerful as well. 300+ kilometers an hour in the fifth gear is the stuff of legends with this one. But unfortunately, I didn't try hitting that one. But it was quick, precise, as I took it to the nearby highlands and reminded me why it was called Blade. We are actually not even halfway yet, but this is a good time to give a shout out to my sponsor and supporter for this mind-boggling tour I had with the Acer Swift 5, which is an incredibly light and resilient laptop. It is just 1 kg, has a touchscreen, an Intel Evo Core i7 processor with 1 TB of SSD and 16 GB of RAM. The whole thing is just blazingly fast and gives me enough power to handle Premiere on the go. And the battery life is just icing on the cake. After Cologne, I was back in Munich, blazing down on the German autobahns with the BMW M8 competition, only to pick up one of the most stupendous cars I have ever done a road trip on. A BMW M4 CSL. The fastest M4 ever produced. The fastest BMW around the Nürburgring, limited in numbers, a lot of carbon fiber. I just fell in love with this one as I drove it into the Austrian Alps. Truly the most race-oriented car in this whole tour that I drove. That was it for Germany. After that, I flew all the way to the USA and landed in the City of Angels, Los Angeles, to pick up an Indian Chieftain in sage green color. One of the most beautiful cruisers that I have ever seen. It fit in perfectly in the Joshua Tree National Park. It was now time for the most insane road trip and machine combination for this tour. I took a Polaris slingshot from Los Angeles and through some amazing American national parks. The whole experience just felt like being on another planet, from Death Valley to the Grand Canyon and back. In this, I also went to Las Vegas to drive a Ferrari 488 GTB with Exotics Racing. They have an amazing array of supercars that you can rent and drive on the track with insurance.
It's less to think about. Upshift.
The end of my USA leg of the Power Tour 2023 was marked by a visit to Peterson Museum in Los Angeles. It had hundreds of cars from all eras and a lot of motorcycles too. It was time to rest a bit on my flight from Los Angeles to Hokkaido in northern Japan, where I was called by Aston Martin to be a part of a media drive with the DBX 707 once again. This was the second time I was going to drive this masterpiece, and I didn't complain. Tokyo was perhaps the most amazing city in the whole of Power Tour 2023 for me. I'm always in awe of what this city has to offer with respect to pop culture, electronics, and of course, the people themselves. From there, I flew to Dubai via India. When it is Dubai, you know there will be a lot of supercars. So I started with the Audi e-tron RS GT, the most powerful electric car of my tour. In fact, it was a supercar in disguise. This was also my daily driver for the entire 10 days of my Dubai trip. It was time for the most powerful car of the Power Tour, the Ferrari 296 GTB. 819 horsepower, it was also the most unique engine configuration, it being a hybrid with a standard ICE engine combined with an electric motor. I also drove its Spider version, the Ferrari 296 GTS, that was equally enthralling. If you are a motorhead, then you must also go to Dubai Autodrome. But before that, a huge recommendation for park in Dubai Motor City. You can actually see the Dubai Autodrome racetrack from inside the hotel from the room. How insane is that? The Dubai Autodrome has a host of experiences. I chose three, the first one being a Formula DXB. Though it is nowhere as close to an actual F1 car, but it does give you an insanely good experience. That was followed by a Mini Cooper JCW around the track, and the last driving experience was with the BMW M2. After the track time, I called up the guys at One Click Drive to help me out with two cars that had been eluding me. One was the Audi R8 with rear wheel drive. Yes, they also made those. One of the most beautiful driving cars ever. But the icing on the cake was when they arranged a Chevrolet Corvette Stingray for me. It was the most surprising package for me in the whole tour. It looked like a supercar, it went like a supercar, and the interiors were mind-blowing. Plus, it was relatively affordable compared to other cars in the genre. The quirkiest thing that I piloted was this one, a Lamborghini-shaped boat in Dubai, of course. And this was something different, and after this, I could say that I drove on water, thanks to Gold Yacht in Dubai. Well, that was it for Dubai. Time to say goodbye to the land of supercars. And next up on the Power Tour 2023 were the addition of two new countries in my backpack, Georgia and Armenia in Caucasia, on an Indian-made TVS Apache RR310. After these, my country count rose to 66. A 3,000 kilometers road trip left me enchanted and wanting me to come back more in this region. The last country in ride in the Power Tour 2023 would be Thailand, with another made-in-India motorcycle that was being launched here. The naked version of the RR310, the TVS Apache RTR310. It blew me away with the plethora of electronics and its design. India was arriving in style everywhere around the world with its products. When I look back at the sheer amount and diverse machines that I've driven and ridden in such a short span of time, it gives me a true sense of how far mankind has come in locomotion. I went 1.5 times around the world and did so many road trips on so many different kinds of environments with machines. Unbelievable. It was better than a video game. Not only locomotion, but the gadgets that I use capture everything. From the insane iPhone to the Insta360 X3, the most capable 360 device I've ever seen. The DJI Mini 3 Pro drone and a GoPro 11. All these brought together by the Acer Swift 5 and brought to you by some cables underneath the ocean over the internet. It is a tremendous time to be alive. Let's appreciate all the stuff that we can do thanks to technology. But you know what? I want to do this again. Different machines, different gadgets, maybe in 2024. This year, you never know. Ride safe, wear a helmet, drive safe, wear a seatbelt, and shoot well. Until next time, take care.